What if everything you thought you knew about Japan was wrong? What if some of the most commonly held beliefs about that island nation are stories we tell ourselves? Myths rooted in misunderstanding, oversimplification, or even prejudice. Today, we're tearing down 10 lies the world believes about Japan and revealing the surprising truths behind them. Stay with me, because by the end, your worldview might shift just a little. Hello, everyone, and welcome to TikWorld Chronicles. Today, we're going deeper than your typical travel vlog or culture list. We're going beneath the veneer of stereotypes and assumptions to expose 10 pervasive myths the world often believes about Japan, and, more importantly, show what reality really looks like. When people outside Japan talk about the country, many of the images that come to mind are uniform, polite bowing people, neon-lit streets, sushi, geishas, bullet trains, rigid social norms. There's nothing inherently wrong with those images, but they're fragments, sometimes distorted or taken out of context. And sometimes, they're outright lies. This is not a video meant to bash or criticize. Rather, it's an invitation to nuance. Japan is a complex country with a rich history, a vibrant present, and many contradictions. By dispelling these 10 common lies, I hope to bring you closer to a more honest, balanced understanding. Let's get started. One of the most enduring myths is that Japan is a homogeneous nation, that nearly everyone is ethnically Japanese, speaks Japanese as their mother tongue, and shares the exact same cultural norms. That image is deeply reductive, and in many ways, false. Let me break down a few counterpoints. Ethnic and cultural diversity. Japan has a number of indigenous and minority groups. The Ainu in Hokkaido, the Ryukyuan people in Okinawa, and various ethnic Korean and Chinese communities. The Ainu have been historically marginalized, but in recent decades there has been a movement toward recognition and cultural revival. There are also growing numbers of foreign residents, people from Southeast Asia, Latin America, especially those of Japanese descent, Nikkei, Western expats, and international students. Linguistic diversity. While standard Japanese is dominant, regional dialects, or Hagen, can differ quite dramatically. A speaker from Hiroshima or Kagoshima might sound foreign to a Tokyoite's ears. In Okinawa, there are local Ryukyuan languages, some of which are endangered, that are distinct from Japanese. Cultural variation within Japan. The Japan of Hokkaido is very different from rural Kyushu or from the urban high-density life in Tokyo. Farming traditions, climate, food, architecture, festivals, they vary enormously across the archipelago. Urban youth may adopt global fashions, hip-hop culture, digital subcultures. Rural communities might maintain closer ties to older traditions. So the idea that everyone is the same is simply misleading. Japan is plural, with internal diversity and, increasingly, external influences as well. On the flip side of homogeneity is the myth that Japan is a relic, a land preserved in amber, forever dancing the same tea ceremony, erecting the same castles, immune to modern change. In truth, Japan is one of the most technologically advanced, rapidly evolving societies in the world. Here's how that myth stacks up to reality. Tech innovation and futurism. Japan continues to lead, or at least compete, in robotics, automation, advanced public transportation, electronics, high-speed rail, and more. Think of humanoid robots, bullet trains, high-speed internet, advanced manufacturing, and even pioneering in lunar and space endeavors. Pop culture, youth trends, subculture. From anime, manga, and gaming to cosplay, street fashion, idol culture, and J-pop/J-rock, Japan's youth continuously reinvent the cultural landscape. It's not a museum of tradition, it's a laboratory of novelty. Street fashion in Tokyo's Harajuku changes every few seasons. Music, art, and digital trends shift rapidly. Social change and adaptation. Japan's legal, economic, and social systems face pressure to adapt. Aging population, low birth rates, globalization, climate change, immigration debates. In the past few decades, there have been reforms in working hours, women's workforce participation, relaxed immigration policies, and shifts in how people live and work. Yes, traditions like tea ceremony, kimono, seasonal festivals, Shinto shrines, and Buddhist temples play an important role. But Japan is not a time capsule. It is a living society, blending heritage and innovation. sometimes uneasily, sometimes beautifully. There's a romantic notion that every Japanese person is unfailingly courteous, always calm, always polite, even heroic in self-control. It's often deployed as a contrast to louder cultures, implicitly suggesting others are impolite or chaotic. But that's a story too tidy to be true. Let's deconstruct it. Cultural expectations versus human reality. Japanese social norms encourage courtesy, self-restraint, conflict avoidance, and harmony. In many public settings, people do behave with restraint and formality. But pressure underlies that norm: social stress, expectations, internal emotional suppression. People do grumble, get frustrated, break rules behind closed doors. Workplace stress, suicide, dissent. Japan faces deep challenges: karoshi, death by overwork; high suicide rates; mental health issues; hikikomori, social withdrawal. These are signs that people internalize pressures rather than always maintaining outward calm. People complain, but discreetly or in private. Also, political dissent, protests, societal conflicts. These exist, though perhaps less visible to foreigners. Rudeness, conflict, breakdowns. No culture is uniformly polite. Anywhere, you'll find people who are short, rude, indifferent, especially when frustrated, sick, tired, or angry. The myth sweeps those contradictions under the rug. So yes, courtesy is valued, but it's not the whole story. Behind the calm surface, there is tension, annoyance, fatigue, critique, and real human complexity. For many visitors, Japan feels exceptionally safe. Low street crime, low violence, clean neighborhoods, politeness. But to take that as proof that Japan is utopia is to misunderstand both the strengths and vulnerabilities of any society. Here's what the myth hides. Safety is relative, not absolute. Compared to many countries, Japan's rates of violent crime may be low, but there are still theft, scams, assault, domestic violence, stalking, cybercrime. Cities like Tokyo, Osaka, and others are not crime-free zones. Natural disasters and elderly risk. Japan is one of the most disaster-prone countries. Earthquakes, typhoons, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions. Safety sometimes means rigorous infrastructure and disaster protocols, but not immunity. Also, accidents involving elderly people, especially in rural areas, slip and fall incidents, traffic mishaps, etc., do occur. Safety illusions and blind spots. Some neighborhoods, late-night walking, narrow alleys, rural stretches at night. Common sense caution still applies. Some crimes are underreported or culturally stigmatized: sexual assault, stalking, domestic abuse. Moreover, foreigners sometimes have a false sense of extra protection because they're tourists. That doesn't shield you fully from risk. So yes, Japan is generally safer than many places. But it is not perfect. Safety comes with caveats. You still want to stay alert, safeguard belongings, respect local guidelines. This is a sensitive and complex topic. On one hand, gender inequality remains a serious problem in Japan. On the other, it is a lie to suggest that all Japanese women are oppressed identically or without agency. Oversimplifying diminishes diversity of experience. Here's what the truth looks like. Real challenges. The gender pay gap is real. Many women face pressure to leave careers for marriage/childcare, part-time work, or non-management roles. Social expectations for appearance, marriage, motherhood persist. Corporate culture often demands long hours, which can conflict with domestic responsibilities. Shifting norms and agency. Younger women increasingly choose non-traditional paths, delaying marriage, child-free lifestyles, entrepreneurship, global careers. There are vibrant feminist, LGBTQ+, and women's rights movements in Japan. Some companies implement policies for maternity, paternity leave, flexible schedules. Women succeed in politics, arts, business, science, though barriers remain. Variation by generation, region, and individual. Rural areas may have more conservative expectations. Major urban centers, Tokyo, Osaka, show more diversity. Some women prefer traditional roles, others reject them. It's not a monolithic experience. Yes, there's systemic sexism, but the reality is more nuanced, and many Japanese women actively resist, negotiate, and redefine those norms. This myth takes two contradictory forms. A. that Japanese people don't really live. They just work, sleep, repeat, and be. That Japanese people don't work hard at all, that the system exploits them as robots. Both views are caricatures. Here's what nuance tells us. Work culture is intense and evolving. Traditional salaryman culture, long hours, loyalty, after-work drinking, minimal personal time, is real and has been powerful historically. However, it's now under strain because of work-life balance concerns, mental health, and demographic collapse. Diversity in work styles. Many people work in creative fields, startups, remote work, part-time jobs, freelancing. Not everyone is chained to a 9-to-9 office job. In rural areas, agriculture, fisheries, local crafts, tourism, people's lives are tied to land or seasonal work, not corporate life. Pushback and reform. The Japanese government and some companies have tried to introduce Premium Friday, caps on overtime, encouragement of telework, early closing, working style reforms. People do take vacation, though often guilt-bound. They do have hobbies, family, travel. The idea that Japanese people have zero personal lives ignores the fact that many negotiate for time, prioritize downtime, and resist burnout. So yes, work is important in Japan, but it's not the only thing, and the idea of universal overwork is a distortion. If we were to pick three images that many foreigners equate with Japan, sushi, geisha, sumo, we might imagine that everyone eats sushi daily. Geisha are ubiquitous, and sumo wrestlers roam the streets. That's more fantasy than fact. Let's unpack. Sushi isn't daily fare for most Japanese. Yes, Japanese cuisine is globally famous for sushi, sashimi, ramen, tempura, but most Japanese people eat home-cooked meals, often rice, miso soup, vegetables, grilled fish, pickles. Sushi is a special occasion or restaurant meal. Moreover, many Japanese don't eat raw fish frequently, especially children and older people. Geisha are rare, specialized, regionally bound. Geisha culture is historically centered in specific districts, Kyoto's Gion, Tokyo's Asakusa, Kanazawa, etc. Geisha are professional entertainers trained over many years. They are not typical people walking the streets. Many geisha districts are now small, with few geisha. The profession is niche and often misrepresented. Sumo is a niche sport, not national pastime. Sumo has deep cultural roots and remains symbolically significant. But everyday Japanese people are far more likely to casually watch baseball, soccer, or consume mainstream entertainment. Also, there are only a limited number of professional sumo wrestlers. They live in stables, train intensely. It's not like every town has sumo tournaments on Sundays. So those classic tropes are powerful and evocative, but they don't reflect daily life for most Japanese. Many imagine, perhaps partly from sci-fi and consumer culture, that Japanese people live surrounded by futuristic gadgets, AI homes, smart everything, robots helping with chores. While there are impressive tech ecosystems, the picture is more mixed. Here's what reality reveals. High-tech coexists with low-tech. In Tokyo, you'll find ultra-advanced trains, automated toilets, smart vending machines. But you'll also find old rice paddies, analog shops, handwritten signs, mom-and-pop stores using cash and ledgers, paper ballots. In many rural areas, technology infrastructure lags behind urban standards. Selective adoption. Japanese consumers can be quite selective and conservative about new gadgets. Many people still prefer tried-and-true models, resist constant upgrades, or maintain analog habits. Also, certain age groups, older generations, may avoid smartphone adoption or smart home tech. Cultural patience and permanence. Japan values durability, longevity, care, repair culture. Something built well and lasting may be preferred over the newest gadget. There's a repair rather than replace mentality in many domains. So the idea of uniform gadget obsession is overblown. Technology is part of life, but not life entirely. This is a common narrative, that Japan is closed off, xenophobic, unwelcoming to outsiders. Some aspects of society are insulating. At the same time, many people are warm, curious, and generous. The truth lies between extremes. Let's examine language and cultural barriers. Many Japanese people speak little English, especially outside big cities, which can make foreigners feel excluded. Cultural norms, expectations, unspoken rules can create friction. Some Japanese may be shy or reluctant to approach strangers, even friendly ones. Positive hospitality and cross-cultural engagement. Many foreigners living in Japan report kindness, helpfulness, generosity from neighbors, coworkers, locals. It's common for people to assist lost tourists, lend a hand, offer directions, invite conversations. Universities, international programs, tourism sectors are increasingly multilingual and foreigner-friendly. Institutional and social friction. Naturalization is strict. Local communities may be slow to integrate non-Japanese. Some social attitudes about foreigners or outsiders persist. Discrimination and bias do exist, especially in housing, jobs, social perceptions. Some foreigners experience difficulties renting apartments, finding long-term employment, or encountering subtle prejudice. Bridges and activism. There are many NGOs, multicultural associations, language exchange groups, community centers, festivals celebrating diversity. Younger generations tend to be more open and globally conscious. So yes, Japan has insular corners and institutional challenges. But it's not a fortress. Many people do reach across the divide. The walls are not impermeable. This is perhaps the most seductive lie, that Japan is flawless, a land of immaculate public order, perfect trains, faultless systems, and courteous citizens. This lie romanticizes the country to the point of distortion. Let me explain. Dysfunction exists. Bureaucratic red tape, inefficiencies, corruption, nepotism, political stagnation, regulatory complexity are real. Systems sometimes fail. During disasters, supply chains break. In public health crises, the government's response can have missteps. Not everything goes smoothly, even in Japan. Social stress and inequities. The pressures of conformity, overwork, mental health crisis, social isolation, economic stagnation, rural decline. These are major challenges. The ideal of perfection often masks suffering, failure, and marginalized lives. Cynicism and critique within Japan. Many Japanese people are self-critical. Writers, artists, journalists critique their own society. Public debate exists. People protest, dissent, resist. Even the idea of Japan as a flawless ideal can be a burden, impossible standards that people struggle to meet. So the myth of perfection is beautiful but false. Japan is extraordinary, but not without flaws, contradictions, and struggles. And that is part of what makes it human. And there you have it, 10 lies the world often believes about Japan, and a more textured view of what life in Japan is really like. Let me recap quickly. Japan is homogeneous and monolithic. Japan is ultra-traditional and frozen in time. Everyone is polite, complacent, complaint-free. Japan is totally safe. Nothing ever goes wrong. Women are universally oppressed. Everyone works like a drone, no life at all. Sushi, geisha, sumo are everyday norms. All Japanese people are tech-obsessed. Japan is isolated and hostile to foreigners. Japan is perfect, no flaws, no cracks. If you take away just one thing from this video, let it be this. Japan, like any country, is a tapestry woven from contradictions, history, change, strengths, and challenges. The myths we believe often come from narrow glimpses, outsider fantasies, or media distortions. But underneath, there is real humanity, complexity, struggle, and transformation. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more content on culture, travel, and myth-busting, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss future videos. Also, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 10 surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep asking harder questions and keep peeling back the layers. Sayonara, and see you in the next video.